Welcome to Inside JMS, podcast featuring the faculty and staff of the Hank Greenspun School of Journalism and Media Studies. I'm Kevin Stoker, and here's my co-host, Dr. Dave Nourse.
Always a pleasure to be right next to you. And in this case, right next to you.
Me. Yes. We have today a great guest in Jennifer Ream. She is the executive producer of UNLV-TV, and she's been here a very long time.
I have. Do I have to say how long?
Well,
it will give away my age.
Let's talk about that. And I think that's my first question. Jen, you started here as a student and you've never left. What is it that what made you decide to come to UNLV in the first place, and why broadcasting?
Well, I didn't come here by choice originally. I had picked another college. And
Jen, that's it. The interview's over.
I know. My father.
First choice.
My father told me that if I went to UNLV, he would pay for it, and if I went to the other school, then
the one up north,
I got to pay for it. No, it was not. It was one further north,
I got
a different state.
Understood.
And so that was an easy choice to make. And so I ended up here at UNLV, and it actually all worked out. I was a political science major.
Wow.
And I was enjoying that, but I don't know what it was. Something sparked my curiosity in journalism. And actually, at the time, it was the School of Communication.
Right.
So there was a split that happened later between communication and journalism. But at that time, it was the School of Communication. And I really loved my communication class. And so I decided to switch my major, and I just stuck with it, and I've really enjoyed it. And the reason I stayed here at UNLV, that's kind of a long story. Well, I don't know if it's that long, but
fortunately, this is a podcast. We're
yes.
made of time here, Jen.
Time. Yeah.
So after my first year of college, I met my husband, fell in love. Of course, he was not my husband at the time, but we met, fell in love, and decided, let's get married. Why wait till we graduate? So I got married after my first year of college.
Wow.
And then we made the decision as poor college students that, you know what? Let's start a family. So kind of a non-traditional path we decided to take, but we decided to start a family. And so we were blessed with a beautiful daughter, and I ended up slowing things down a little bit. So I was on the 6-year plan because I was also being a mom and raising a child. So I graduated after 6 years and had a beautiful little girl.
How did you end up? You chose journalism or communications at that time.
Yeah.
And then how did you choose broadcasting? Did it just pull you in? What happened?
It did. I think that I was always interested in news, and I think that stemmed a lot from being a political science major initially. I like news. I like politics. And so it just seemed like a natural fit for me to take that path.
Tell me about entering into your first broadcast class. What inspired you? What kept you going? And did you start working for UNLV-TV then too?
So I didn't start working for UNLV-TV right away. My first broadcasting class, I believe, was writing for broadcast, if that counts. And I do remember that class. I had my one claim to fame that at the time the professor was Erica Engstrom, who taught here for many years. I think she's in Florida.
I think she's
Kentucky.
Kentucky now. Okay. So I remember in that class that she was a tough professor, and she required a lot of the students. And I remember I wrote one story, and I got 100% on it. And I do remember her in class holding it up saying, "It is possible." And that helped motivate me to think, okay, maybe I can do this.
That's
right.
great.
So I found myself, I just really enjoyed broadcasting, and then, all the classes that came along with that, with editing, although back in the day, I was still on reel-to-reel. So it was a different world back then. And then once I finally got into the studio, just fell in love with it and loved everything about production.
And I've seen photos of you and Paul Gutierrez as anchors of the Studio G News. Or was it called Studio G at that
No,
time?
at that time, it was News Center 4. And we broadcast a weekly show that was actually on Cox Cable on Channel 4. Well, at the time, I think it was Prime Cable. But Paul and I were co-anchors. So we were co-anchors on the newscast together.
And it's kind of neat that Paul now teaches for us, and he's been a reporter with ESPN, and then went on to now work for the Raiders.
Yeah, Paul, just had an amazing career in sports journalism, and it is so incredible to have him here now.
But
teaching.
you've had an amazing career. So you stayed with it, and then how did you end up working for UNLV-TV?
So, well, I completed my studies in a short 6 years.
Time just flew.
It did. But, I had a little one I was chasing around at the time. And when I graduated, I was going into news, and I was doing some freelance stuff as well. And I quickly discovered that the broadcast news didn't work well with a family life. And it was something that my husband and I talked about. And so we had been talking about different things. And the great thing about a degree in journalism as broadcasting is you don't have to go into news. There are a lot of opportunities out there. I did some work with a nationally syndicated talk show and was doing that. And it was interesting, but not something that I necessarily wanted to do forever. And UNLV came back knocking on my door saying, hey, there's this position that's opened up at the university, and would you please apply? And I thought, well, it just so happens I'm looking for a full-time position. And so I applied for the position, got it, and I never left.
And you're still
And
here.
I'm still here.
Jen, in terms of longevity, you've got a lot of longevity. You've kind of grown up in a way with the school. You were here when the School of Journalism and Media Studies was founded, as you talked earlier about the split from communication studies. I think one of the things that people oft forget is before we had this beautiful building, UNLV-TV was somewhere else on campus. Talk to us a little bit about life in FDH, because I know we take for granted these beautiful facilities, and even as equipment gets older and is aging, we still have it somewhat better than we had it in FDH. Maybe talk about kind of your early days at UNLV-TV and kind of the lead up to when we moved into Greenspun Hall, and kind of what that meant for you, because, the technology changed in that amount of time, the industry changed in that amount of time, and you kind of were right in the middle of all of it. I would love to hear.
Yeah, so it was really interesting. I look back fondly on my days in FDH. It's kind of like when you're, a young college student and you're poor, and it seems so tough. And then you look back, when you get older, you look back on those times, and it's like, remember those good old times when you were living in the apartment or the dorm or whatever? I kind of feel like that about FDH.
Yeah.
Not luxury accommodations, but it was fun. It was a basement studio, and I believe that the studio in FDH is actually a fallout shelter here on campus. It was like the designated fallout shelter,
Wow.
which everybody who I guess is, wasn't born in the 50s or 60s would not know what that is.
But just in case of a nuclear
but just in
war,
case of nuclear
you were in
war,
the right place.
It was a fallout shelter. And so one of the fun things about FDH, I don't know if it was fun, challenges, is that because it was in a basement and it was lower, every time it would rain, it was prone to flooding. And so there were many times...
Just what expensive equipment needs.
Yes.
A
So there
little bit
were
of
many
rainwater.
times that the studio would flood. And one of the worst instances happened. There was actually no rain, but there was a huge water main break on the other side of campus. And all of the conduit, like the nerve center for all of the technology at UNLV, went into FDH. And so the pipes, and I want to say it might have been somewhere over by the law school. I can't remember exactly, but those pipes filled with water and ran all the way into FDH to our basement.
Oh, no.
And so it happened, I think it was over a weekend, and our engineer went down into the studio and stepped down. It was like dark. It was usually dark going into the studio. Went walking down and stepped into probably 4 to 5 inches of water on the studio floor.
Yeah.
And mind you, I mean, there's a lot of, cameras, a lot of electrical things plugged in. And that was quite a surprise. So we got to deal with things like that. But somehow we survived and we were able to, be blessed with this facility. But as far as the move, one of the challenges with broadcasting, but also part of the fun, is using the technology that you have and making it work. Mm-hmm. And it requires a lot of creativity. And I mean, it's something that you deal with here, at UNLV a lot. And really everywhere, because nobody has unlimited resources. Yeah. And so it's figuring out how to do the most you can with what you have. And so it was, we went from there where we had very little to when we moved into this building, suddenly having everything. Yeah. And it was a lot of fun to be able to suddenly have all of those resources. Of course, there was a huge learning curve there too, to learn how to, to make that shift into the digital world.
Mm-hmm. And what a shift that was. I mean, really, overnight, seemingly, you move into a new building and then you go from this analog-based world to a digital-based world. Jen, you teach classes for us, and you've been kind of integral to the operations of UNLV-TV, either as in a producer role or in your executive producer role. How do you keep current? The technology's always moving. How do you stay up to date?
Well, first of all, I surround myself with people who are way smarter than I am.
Well done, Kevin.
Well, no, it's Sean and RT, right?
Yeah, well, it was Sean, RT, back with Dan, our former engineer. Just as long as you're surrounded with people who are really smart, because, I mean, I am the first to acknowledge I do not have an engineering technical brain. But I've tried to learn as much as I can. Yeah. And I'm very much an operator. Mm-hmm. I rely on the smart people to make everything work. But yeah, it's just something that you have to continually train and look into and work on.
And it's getting your reps in. Very recent upgrade as well.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate to be able to do some upgrades in our studio. We've been here in Greenspun Hall now for
15 years.
15 years, mm-hmm. which seems so crazy that it's been that long. But yeah, I mean, the equipment ages. Yeah. And so we've had to do some upgrades, and it's really great to be able to do that and continue to provide our students with like great equipment and facilities.
How has the mission of UNLV-TV changed over the years?
At its core, I don't think it's really changed that much. I mean, UNLV-TV came into existence to provide students with hands-on learning opportunities, and that's really still what we're doing. I mean, the core of what we do is providing our students with the opportunities to get that experience while they're here in school. Because, that's one of the challenges, right? Yeah. You go to school, you graduate, and you have on your resume, graduate. But to be able to add that work experience is really important. And also just the opportunity for the students to get the reps in. I mean, no matter how big the production, it could be a single camera production, a multi-camera production, but just showing up and doing it, you're learning every time. And you can tell a difference between the students that get fully engaged and take advantage of those opportunities and those that don't.
Talk to us a little bit about teaching. So when you came to UNLV, obviously the job at UNLV-TV sounded really appealing. Did you ever think you'd be a teacher? Do you enjoy the teaching element?
I did not think I would ever be teaching. I mean, just working with students, there's that element of teaching. And that's something that did appeal to me, the opportunity to work with students. And so that was something that I've always enjoyed, is just the energy that the students bring. It makes me feel young and old at the same time. I think that I'm young because the students say to stay the same age. So in my mind, I do as well. No, but I never thought that I would be in a classroom teaching. I always thought it was more, in the field, working alongside them, in more of a mentor type role. But being in the classroom has been really fun. And it's great to see the excitement that the students have, in the academic side.
Yeah, when it's not always 8:30 in the morning and
Yeah.
everyone's tired. So you teach Journalism 202, which is our video production and journalism 1 course, and it's a core course for the program. It's the optional core. We don't need to get too in the weeds over here, but tell us a little bit about kind of what your classroom is like. What's your philosophy in the classroom? Kind of what's the expectation of the students for somebody who may never have an opportunity to take a class in video production before? Why would they want to take it with you, Jen?
Well, I think the great thing about Journalism 202 is that with it being an introductory course, we're able to cover a lot of ground in terms of not only journalism, but just video production. And the most important thing for me, for students to walk away with, are the number of opportunities available with a degree in broadcasting or production. Mm-hmm. And there are those students who go into that class and they know that they are going to be a reporter, producer, whatever it's going to be, and they have that focus. There are others that come in thinking, I kind of like this, but they're not sure. And just providing them with the opportunity to see all of the different jobs involved with broadcasting. I mean, most people think of an anchor reporter, because those are the faces we see on the TV, right? But they don't see the hundreds of jobs behind the scenes. And just opening them up to everything, all the opportunities and career possibilities available behind the camera is what's most exciting to me. I mean, I started thinking I wanted to be a reporter. And then I quickly decided that, I had a face for radio, but I don't have a voice for radio either. So that's why I ended up behind the camera producing more. But, I was actually a videographer for a time. I was like the main videographer for UNLV-TV. That wasn't something that I ever thought I wanted to do, but a position opened up and I stepped into that role and I found that I really loved it. I love the creativity behind, composing the perfect shot. And so that's been kind of fun for me personally, just to be able to take advantage of all those little opportunities and discover, my passion. And it's changed throughout the years, but that's, like I said, one of the great things about broadcasting is there's so many opportunities there.
Well, tell us how it's evolved. So you were a time you did that, but what else did you do while you're here?
Well, I've been here, I started more as an assistant, a production assistant, and then worked in that role for quite a while. And then I started producing. I did some hosting. So I hosted a show for the university. And so I was still in front of the camera a little bit. But then I found myself moving more and more into producing. And that was kind of where I spent most of my career. And again, opportunities opened up. And so I became a director. And so I was the main director for UNLV-TV for quite a while. And like I said, I was also a videographer. And so that's kind of where my role's been. The one thing that I have never really fully leaned into is editing. And as I teach the students, though, I mean, you have to know how to do everything, especially in today's media landscape. You have to be able to do everything. I do not have the patience to edit. I give so much credit to editors. Just the monotony of listening to things over and over. I can't do it. I can if I have to,
Yeah.
but
you prefer not to.
I prefer not to.
Jen, as you have stated already, you started your family relatively young, but I know your family is a big and important part of your life. You're a grandmother. You have grandkids on the other side of the country. Tell us a little bit about life outside of UNLV. I know that you have a husband and you've got some great kids and some grandkids. So tell us about kind of who Jen Ream is when she's not wearing the UNLV-TV executive producer hat.
Yeah, well, my kids are part of the reason I think I stayed here for so long. Every time I think, oh, maybe I should move on and do something else, there was like, okay, but my kids could go to school.
Right,
so
right.
that was appealing. And kind of funny, none of them ended up going to UNLV, but
But they could have.
but they could have. They did go to other universities here in Nevada, but no, my family is really important to me, and that really is one of the reasons why working here at UNLV has been such a blessing in my life, is because it's allowed a really good balance for me, for my family. I have a daughter and two amazing boys, and they are now all married, which makes me feel so incredibly old. And I have three beautiful granddaughters, and they all live in South Carolina with my daughter and her husband, who's in the Air Force. So it's a long distance, but it gives us a lot of excuses to go fly across the country and visit.
That's right.
Yeah.
How have you handled the work-life balance? That's something a lot of students ask me about. So I wondered how have you handled it?
For me, part of it was finding a job that fit my lifestyle. And that was one of the reasons that I made a very conscious decision not to go into news, just because at the time I just knew that wouldn't work for me personally. Had I, made different life choices, then I think that I probably would have followed a path into, traditional broadcast news. But for me, it was just not something that was going to work. Yeah. But again, there's so many opportunities out there. And then I just, when I'm at work, I'm at work. And then I've always found myself, when it came time to, go home, then I was fully invested in my family. And I had some friends that stayed home and were full-time moms, which is a very noble choice and amazing for them. I would always laugh because they would always be so excited for, school to start back after the summer break, or, for the kids to be gone. And I felt the opposite. Every day when I got home, I was so excited to be home. And so I never, ever felt like, oh, I wish my kids were in school or gone. Every moment that I got to spend with my family, I just absolutely treasured.
That's great. That's great. As you ponder back on your time here at UNLV, and maybe even as you think about the contribution of UNLV-TV to the university, not just to our program, but the university, what gives you the most satisfaction?
For me, I think it's just the stories that we've been able to help share about the university, because there are some really incredible professors and researchers here at the university, and being able to help share their stories and the work that they're doing has been something that gives me a lot of joy. And just sharing those stories. And sometimes it's just connecting people. One of the fun things about this new world we live in is the ability to stream. Back when I started, if it wasn't over the broadcast airwaves, you didn't get to see it. It would be pre-recorded. And now the opportunity to live stream and be able to connect people has been fun, so that even if somebody is on the other side of the country, they still can watch, their, son or daughter graduating from the UNLV Law School, or something like that. So that's something that's nice.
Did UNLV-TV how did it become kind of the key production facility for the university itself? I mean, most of your clients are campus clients. And when did it make that transformation from, I don't know if it ever was working with external clients, but, and now it's become one of the key production arms for the university. How did that come about?
Yeah, well, we don't really have time to get into all of this, but we actually started, the way UNLV-TV really started was recording city council and county commission meetings. Mm-hmm. And we did that for a number of years. And then the agreement that we had ended. And so at that point, UNLV-TV kind of shifted and started doing work for the university as a whole. And, at one point it was just like recording different shows and things like that. And then it wasn't until a little bit later that we really got into live streaming. And then that really exploded during COVID because suddenly everything was virtual. And so that's when we really, the live streaming took off like it hadn't before. Before that, we would still record events, but COVID definitely prompted the live stream revolution.
Interesting.
Jen, as we just about wrap this up, because we told you we're going to keep you at about a half hour or so, got a couple of fun questions for you that I think would just, keep you on your toes. All right, we were joking about your kids before we started shooting this. And, if one said, I want McDonald's, the other one said, I want Panda Express or vice versa. Favorite food or favorite restaurant to go to in Las Vegas?
Oh, my gosh. That is really tricky because I never get to pick. I have picky eaters in my family, so they always pick our restaurants.
Oh no, I get it. But it's just like if somebody said, Jen, it's time for you to pick.
I get to pick. Mm-hmm. Wow. I really. This is terrible. I know. I really don't have any place.
Okay.
I would say we eat a lot of Korean barbecue in my family. So.
Korean barbecue.
There you go.
I like that.
I think it's Top Korean Barbecue off of Sunset.
Okay. Okay. Most fun vacation that you could go on at any point in time? Because I know you guys do get a chance to go out. You go on to the lake, do different things. What would you get to do if you could do anything?
I am a water girl. Mm-hmm. So anything with a beach or water.
All right.
So I'm a big fan of Hawaii.
Yeah.
Or any type of beach vacation with a lot of sun.
All
but
right.
if I have to go to Europe, I'm happy to go to Europe as well.
and I think you're quite the water skier too, right?
Well, I don't water ski anymore. I had a little incident a year ago where I ruptured my hamstring water skiing. So I've given up water skiing. I do wake surf.
Okay,
so
there you go.
Wake surfing is my thing now.
I love
well,
it.
Jen, we usually end these podcasts with the question: is there something we haven't asked you that we should have asked you that you can think about that you think our audience would be really interested in hearing? Even if they're not interested in hearing. What is it?
I don't know that the audience would be interested in hearing anything from me. Just that I'm grateful to UNLV for the opportunities that I've been given. And it's been... I guess the thing that's fun is just to see the excitement and see the students and their success. That's the one thing about, a teaching environment is that you get to kind of live through your students' success, and to see our students go on and do amazing things is just the greatest.
Man, we couldn't have picked a better way to end it.
Great ending.
Jennifer, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.